I'm Dr. Shrinivas. I lead what's called marketing tech. And over the next few minutes, I'll talk a bit about what marketing tech is, but also how it fits into a much larger enterprise. The question that emerges is, who is Target? What is Target? So a quick context setting for you. We are one of the largest retailers in the US. We have about 2,000 stores, just shorter than 2,000 stores. We are a multi-category, including general merchandise retailer. So you can buy many things, including food and beverages in Target. Food and beverages, interestingly, is also one of the largest, fastest growing category that we win. Though we have 2,000 stores, we also do a lot of work on digital. In fact, we possibly got about 8.5% growth last year purely on same-day services in digital. And if you attended the talk yesterday that Pratap gave in the SD hall, then you would have actually heard of how we deliver most of our services on digital from the stores. So our stores actually function like distribution centers for us in the sense we kind of serve from the store for digital and online orders. By the way, Pratap, are you in the hall somewhere? No? All those who are from Target, can you please just stand up for a minute? Sorry, I'm going to we have a pretty large contingent. And this is a round of applause, and I'm speaking on behalf of all of them. And remember, any questions that you have about this, find one of your closest Target team members who's around and do speak to them about it. Thank you. What has growth meant to us? And again, these numbers are not here because I'm giving a corporate presentation, but also to kind of set the stage for how technology has kept pace and has enabled that business growth. We were 70 billion in revenues in 2016. The financial year 2016 that ended in 2017, the last financial year that ended the end of January this year, there's a financial year of 23, we were 107 billion. So clearly you see we've been growing rapidly, and that's been enabled by the underlying technology. The question that arises is how do we structure ourselves? And this is a business view. So now I'm slowly getting into an architectural view of how the business domains function. These are the broad set of domains that we're looking at. So merchandising, marketing, no prizes in guessing when you think of retail and you think of e-commerce. There's also the enabling elements of supply chain and stores. But actually, if you peel any one of these more, you begin to realize there's a very rich set of business processes. There's a very rich set of activities that happen, which is then enabled and mimicked by technology. And also then technology enables innovation in those spaces. And we'll spend a bit of time on that today. Thinking of merchandising, you typically think of the item setup, but then the adjacencies about, the offers that we make, the promotions we set up, how do we roll it out. So if you've not seen it, there's a fantastic talk last year that was given by Sesh, one of our colleagues in another talk at GIDS last year. So go ahead, look at the replay of that. Talks about how we build scalable, agile systems to enable the commerce platform. And you kind of see how many of these items come together. In fact, a fair chunk of the talk that Pratap gave yesterday ties in the way we deliver through stores and supply chain and how do we enable inventory and offers, etc. So that's broadly the merchandising space, and you begin to see how it interconnects with the other parts of the domains. Now think of marketing. Marketing is one thing of advertising, the retail media network, which is obviously one that comes to mind. And we have a very rapidly growing retail media network, which is at about $1.5 billion worth of revenue and is growing rapidly. We talk a fair bit about it because it's a very impactful part of our business. And I don't mean impact purely from the dollar numbers, but from the fact that our guests, we call the customers guests. The way guests enrich their experience because we introduce new topics to them, new products or new brands to them through the advertising network. So they actually value that, and we make sure that it's a very consistent experience that they get both in store and online. And that's part of the marketing piece. But again, if you walk into a Target store, you'll begin to realize there's a fair amount of joy that's kind of spread through the store, the way it is set up, the way the signages are set up, the way the offers are presented to you, depending on where you are in the store and how you're walking through the store, including how the store smells at different parts of the store, by the way. And all that comes because of marketing systems that's enabling that, literally down to knowing exactly which signage is part of which planogram positioning, and therefore what has to be printed and deployed onto the signage in the 2,000-ish stores that we have. You're also therefore getting a sense for how the store systems intersect with all these elements. We wrap it all together to deliver it in what we call the digital experience. And the digital experience is not just the experience that you see on the Target.com site or the Target apps that you have, but it's also the apps that the store members have. So you walk into a store, you're talking to somebody saying, can you help me where I'd find it? They'll whip their mobile device out, try and tell you exactly which aisle and whether we have inventory of it. All that's happening because of the real-time communication, the actual visibility of inventory and other information. So it's a digital experience both at a team member level, our colleagues who work at Target, and at a guest level, and guest is the customers that we have, and we bind them both together in the view of what we call consumers. So the consumers of the various technology pieces then get full access to be able to deliver that kind of connection with the guests and the customers who walk in through the door. How do we pull this all together from a tech standpoint? Fundamentally, we are structured into, and again, these are not org structures, these are logical groupings. So we're fundamentally set up into what's called product engineering. These are the engineers who build the code along the conversations that we're having here today. Much of the people that you see, the Target folks who stood up today in the auditorium are from one of these roles, if you may. The data sciences also has the analytic platform within it. And last year, Vinay Joshi, one of my colleagues, I don't know, Vinay, if you're around here somewhere, gave a wonderful piece about how we re-platformed the analytic platform. And that's a wonderful piece of work that we completed. It's a brilliant talk which talks about how you set up an analytic platform for a $100 billion enterprise and how you kind of upscale it, that we did over the last few years. So that's that comes within the data sciences piece. What we clearly do is we separate the transactional systems, which is where the product engineering works, and the data sciences, which is the decisions based on historical data and new signals which plug into the transactional systems. So that allows the product engineering to focus on resilience, scale, reliability in an unerring way. And the decisions then come into that depending on how we need it, where we need it. And that's a tuning that Sciences does continuously. And it's piggybacked on top of the analytic platform. That whole structure comes to life using other structures like enterprise architecture and platform engineering. Platform engineering just kind of, takes away from us engineers the worry of having to think, is this going to be deployed in a store? Or is this going to be in the data center? Or is this going to be on the cloud? Who is going to use it? How are they going to use it? That's completely removed from the typical engineer's activity, and it becomes part of the platform. The enterprise architecture, by the way, is a thought. It's not, again, an org structure that we're talking about. We're talking about engineers. A principal engineer on a regular team could be playing an enterprise architect role. It's more than focusing at the kind of principles that we want to enunciate in each of these conversations. So if I can loop back to Venkat's conversation yesterday about debates or arguments, I think was the exact choice of word that he used in the keynote. We have a ton of them. But the whole purpose of having these is so that we can debate. So much like what Ken just spoke about, talking to the manager, I would expand that in our context and say it is talking to the business and everybody around. So we are continuously debating, negotiating over new ideas that can emerge and how we can enable the processes better, or maybe help them in the innovation journey that they want to embark on, so we deliver something new and better to our guests who are coming into our store or coming online to our sites. And of course, everything is kind of couched in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, again, is not just an organization looking after us, but also practices that we engineers will practice as part of our routine activity so that we don't need somebody else to just help us, but we are enabled for it. So how do we pull this all together? So we have a retail analytic platform. This is a bigger view. And again, if you've got more questions around this, catch one of us. We can talk to you about it. Or you can also go back and look at Sesh's talk from last year, Vinay Joshi's talk from last year, and Pratap's talk from this year, which is yesterday, actually. and the architectural principles that underlie it. So, for example, we mimic core business processes. We want to build everything as building blocks. We want it to be scalable. We want it to be stable. And if you remember Pratap's talk yesterday, he clearly said no P1, P2 incidents. And that's a minimum operational imperative that we carry, because an outage automatically means either you shut down a store because you can't check out, or you shut down the site, and so therefore guests can't come, which has got a material impact on the way the brand target is viewed by our guests, and we certainly don't want that. And we also want this to be agnostic of cloud providers, which the platform folks can go and get, allows them the latitude over there. So now bringing this all together in terms of numbers, well, we're about 2,000-ish stores. We're running at about 500,000 plus orders per hour. We're doing about 150 milliseconds and about 99 percentile. But now start looking at a very different view. Those are the typical commerce platform kind of numbers and view. But start looking at it from the other set of views, which is more than 1.5 million baby registries were set up last year alone on Target.com. So these are people setting up registries so they can have gifting enabled. We saw more than an 8% sales lift on the kind of roundel ads that we did for our clients during Earth Week. And this is Earth Week going on right now. So this is from data from a year ago. And we also saw a ROAS, which is return on ad spend, of greater than $18+ for the clients who are using Earth Week through our roundel platform. So you're beginning to see the kind of numbers that we're impacting both guests and both our clients and the other parts of our stakeholders. So it's a huge platform which has got everything, it's got multiple touch points. Now comes the interesting part. And here's a wonderful page from Target.com, a very, very lively page in terms of images. The imagery that you see is about Good and Gather, which is one of our own brands for food. If you do go to Target in the US, do make sure that you check out some of the Good and Gather products. I personally love the coffees over there. But you see the realism of that imagery. It keeps your attention. And this is both in store, where you could have some of this as part of the store assets, or it could be online like you're seeing over here. Now, kind of working away from the commerce platform and beginning to look at the rest of the retail experience, the question begins to emerge: where did these images come from? How many of these images do you have? Now, again, if I lean back on Pratap's talk yesterday, he talked of a catalog which had about 4 million items. Now, think of the images that you need for each of these items, and then the combinations of those images that you need for those groups of items that you might want to showcase as part of one scene. Where and how do we manage those assets starts becoming a topic. And that's not your typical commerce platform in terms of checkout, cart, etc. So we wanted to build one single consistent in-store digital experience, which is the quality of the retail experience the guests have with us, both in store and online. And so therefore we decided we are going to go build our own one single digital asset management repository, which was also going to be a place where you can search and drive reuse of those assets. And I'll show you why reuse becomes incredibly important. One is it is difficult to set up these images easily. Just think in terms of shipping products, whatever they are, could be packages, could be tables, could be chairs, whatever it is. How do you ship them to a studio to photograph them and use them as part of a larger asset pool that you want to? And the complexity and the cost involved in that is actually a very difficult topic when you're dealing with millions of items in your catalog. So we built Asset Hub. The teams here were absolutely centrally involved, and you get a quick view of what an Asset Hub UI screen looks like. And the Asset Hub deals with a whole myriad of file types, as you can see on the screen. But that's the easy part. And the billions and millions of images in Asset Hub, by the way, and it's used both by internal team members, by vendors, by campaign managers, etc. But then when you're starting to set up lifestyle experiences like the ones that you see on the screen over here, it becomes even more difficult. And when I say even more difficult, I'm saying, how do you get that whole scene set up? And there are different seasons, there are different parts of the year. How do you change the lighting and the look and feel of that scene so that it kind of strikes a chord with you when you're looking at it, both in store and online? And that's the more difficult problem for us to solve. The easier solution to that is photography. And these are our own studios, and you see how the scene is being set up. On the left, you see a beautiful photograph of a bed, and you can see almost the sunlight coming in because of the way they've set up that whole scene. But that's not easy, and you can't do millions of these easily. So the question then emerges, what can you do about it? So off we went and built within marketing tech something else called Style Hub, which is actually a 3D visualization tool. And I'm going to play a quick video of Style Hub. I'll skip the slide in the interest of time. It starts showing you how these scenes are built. And here's the before and after, what a scene build looks like. And so there's an art director and there's an artist who's actually building a scene like that. And my time's nearly up, and a couple more slides and I'm done. This shows you how within Style Hub, you can actually see somebody creating a scene. You can also see them positioning things differently, including moving the kind of the rug below, and even the shoes, the footwear that's on the floor below. And once the video finishes playing, I'll move you around to the next scene where you can actually see it at work. And this is the way they set up the screen. I will hop in, and this is the way it actually comes to life. These are our incredibly creative, fellow colleagues at Target. You see the art director and you see the artist, and together they're setting up the whole situation, the scene that they want to create. And that's the experience that you experience when you walk into the store or you see pictures online. And clearly, they're highly topical. They're highly, contextual. And I will skip in the interest of time. And lastly, here's a beautiful visualization we did in the middle of the pandemic. What you see is an intersection of store, creative, and marketing coming to life. Mondo Llama is a brand that we use for craft-related items. And this was a visualization of how a Mondo Llama rack will look as we're getting ready for back to school and back to college. So how much of space do you need? What can you display in that? And therefore, how is it going to drive consumption? Or is it going to help the guests find what they were looking for in the store? So the whole brand experience of Mondo Llama inside the store was mimicked, built by people sitting across multiple continents using technology that we built. So we just don't build technology for technology's sake and to support a business process, but also to kind of bring the greater creativity of all our team members, wherever they are, to the fore. That was a big piece. So wrapping up, loosely coupled systems that focused at business processes, drives business agility and innovation, and technology-enabled collaboration of teams across functions and geographies, which is really when the creativity of the company comes out and enables it to the way we deliver our business. With that, I thank you.